Hello, this is Chris with Phoenix Gaming, and today we're going to be doing another Live Laugh Waagh, which is just my Orc series, and we're going to talk about Big Meks, specifically Big Meks in Power Armor. Big Mek in Mega. Hello, this is Chris with Phoenix Gaming. Welcome to another episode in our Live Laugh Waagh series. Today we're going to talk about Big Meks, specifically Big Meks in Mega Armor. We're going to go over the Mega Armor datasheet, the equipment options, custom jobs, specialist mobs, and potential loadouts. And as usual, we'll kind of talk about what it is I like about them and how I would run them if I were going to. This is the datasheet, and it's actually one of the better or more interesting datasheets in the Orc Codex. You can see he's on a 40 mil base. He is a mech, so he has ballistic skill 4. And, so interestingly, Wazbomb Blastajets also have the mech keyword and ballistic skill 4. That's totally unrelated, but just wanted to bring that up. He does move 4 inches, which, big shock. A lot of the other Mega Armor stuff is up to 5 inches. I think he might be the only holdover that has a 4-inch movement. The War Boss went to 5. The Mega Knobs went to 5. They used to be 4 inches. This lad is still at 4 inches. Again, another example of how so much of this codex was just copy pasted. I guess, maybe the ballistic skill 4 is too good, so we have to slow him down a bit. At the end of the movement phase, he can also repair one friendly clan vehicle model within 3 inches of it. It regains up to D3 lost wounds, and it can only be repaired once per turn. So his stock loadout is a custom Mega Blasta and Power Claw. The Power Claw is ×2, -3, 2 damage. The KMB is Strength 8, -3, D6 damage. It's one of the few really potentially high damaging weapons that orcs have outside of the weapons on the Blastajet. And in addition, it's one of the few assault weapons that still exist in the Codex. You have options where you can replace the KMB with a Combi Rocket, Combi Scorcha, Custom Shooter, or Kill Saw. And then in addition, you can take a KFF, which is the 6-inch aura of 6 up invulnerable save. And then the Teleport Blasta for 10 points, and that's Strength 8, Neg 2, 3 damage. It's effectively the same profile that goes on a rocket. It's D6 shots, and it has a 12-inch range. And then for 5 points, you can give him a Grot Oiler, where once per game he gets to roll one. Once per game, he gets to add 1 to his heal roll. In my opinion, I think the Custom Mega Blast is one of the better weapons you could put on him. It is Assault D3, so you get a D3 shots. It is Blast, which doesn't really affect infantry. Yeah, if you hit a unit with 6 or more models, you're getting 3 shots. Like I said, it is neg 3 and D6 damage. Custom shooters are interesting. They're not super good. They're DACA 6-4, but they're strength 4, no AP. So they don't really do that much. And even if you're in DACA range with your 18-inch gun, you're still only hitting 3 times. So on average, you're going to plink maybe 1 damage off of a Marine if you're lucky. But some of the cooler and more fun relics are locked behind that weapon, and that's where it gets funny and interesting and fun. The Teleport Blaster, like I said, it's 10 points, and you get an extra D6 at Strength 8, Neg 2, 3 damage. It's pretty solid. The Oiler, I don't ever take it. 5 points to add one to my heal roll, whatever. Honestly, I don't even heal with him all that often. Usually with orc vehicles, if something shoots at them, they're dead. And if it's not dead, it's probably getting into combat. So I haven't really been in a position where I feel like I need to heal. But I also run a good mix of vehicles and infantry. If I ran a buggy or vehicle heavy list, I'd probably consider remembering to heal a lot more. Obviously, the Scorcha, kind of a waste on one of your only ballistic skill 4 units. There's not really a point behind putting it on him. And then the Kill Saw is effectively pointless because you can only take one. Sure, it's minus 4 AP, but you get a bonus attack when you have two of them, which is where the Kill Saw gets good. Getting that bonus attack, but he can't take two. He has to take a gun and he has to take a melee weapon. So the Power Claw, I would just keep the Power Claw on him. He does have access to a couple of pretty cool custom jobs. The Bionic Oiler, you get. That's not one of the. Let me. Fuck. Custom jobs. Bionic Oiler's 10 points, but you get to use your Grot Oiler 2 times instead of once. So you spend 5 points to use it once, but it's 15 points to use it twice. And, that's absurd. I barely think the first one is worth it, let alone investing 15 extra points total into him just to get to do it twice. I'll pass. Those 15 points, that's a third of a Grot squad, Like, get out of here with that. The extra custom weapon, on the other hand, is worth to me. For 10 points, you get a D3 plus one shots with your KMB, which means if he lives all game, for 10 points, you're getting an extra 5 shots with one of your better anti-tank weapons. Is pretty solid. And like I said, that one's worth. When we move into the specialist mobs, there are some interesting ones there. But then he kind of takes a specific role and he doesn't do certain things. Like if we give him Boom Boys, his KMB goes to neg 4, his teleport into neg 3, and I think that's a solid upgrade depending on what his loadout is and the role. You lose access to your culture and then you lose access to whatever's locked behind your relics and your traits. So one of the things that you may want to do is put it on him in an army where he's not doing a lot. Like if you're running Goffs and you bring him just to be like a shooting platform, I think it's worth because he's not one of your better melee options and he doesn't lose that much by losing his culture. Whereas in an army like Evil Sons, he's like the only unit in the codex that has all assault weapons depending on what loadout you give him. So he can advance. It gives him his 5-inch movement. He gets to shoot. With Death Skulls, he gets OBSEC. He gets a 5-up against mortals, which helps mitigate the mortals caused by the KMB. And then, you get access to cool relics and warlord traits with Death Skulls. So again, in the right culture, Boom Boys is worth it. But I feel like Boom Boys is maybe better suited on things like Coptas or your Waagh, depending on what culture you're running. Mad Boys, I've covered this in other videos. I'm not going to cover it again. Just know that it's kind of poopy duty and it doesn't really give him anything. Big Krumpas, again, kind of a waste on a Big Mek. Adds one to hit rolls in the fight phase for certain units. And you're better off if you're running an army where you're going to run Big Krumpas, you either put it on the Gorkanaut or Morkanaut, Def Dreads, or something else. Because it's just better for them than it is for him. Loadouts that I like, again, typically a big Death Skulls player. I know I've been big into Evil Sons lately, but with Death Skulls, I love this guy. All right, he's one of my favorites. It's very funny. It's very, I wouldn't say it's good or strong, but it's a lot of laughs, right? Because he has OBSEC and Death Skulls, so he can snatch an objective from an enemy if they don't have OBSEC on it. You get a hit and or you get a hit or wound reroll, and that minimizes how many mortals you can take by the KMB. So the way it's worded is you can only take one every time you shoot it, but if you only roll one hit roll of one and you can re-roll it, obviously you can help potentially negate that mortal. And then also having the 5-up against mortals helps mitigate that I'm getting hurt by my own weapon. Opportunist is the warlord trait I love putting on him. It ignores Lookout Sir within 12 inches, so you can short range snipe characters with your KMB and or Teleportablasta. So imagine getting a D3 +1 Strength 8 Neg 3 D6 damage shots, and then a D6 Strength 8 Neg 2 3 damage shots, and all of them ignore Lookout Sir, right? Within 12 inches. Uh, like I said, it's super funny, and I have used it quite a bit. And generally speaking, all it does is make people keep their characters away from him, which isn't a bad thing. And then there's the Dead Shiny Shooter, and this is what I love running with Opportunist. And I wouldn't call it quote unquote good, but like I said, it is absolutely hilarious. It's a DACA 10-14, strength 5, neg 1, 2 damage. So if you're within half range, which is 9 inches, right, you get 14 shots, strength 5, neg 1, 2 damage. Or if you're just between the 9 and 12, you get 10 shots, strength 5, neg 1, 2 damage. And you ignore Lookout Sir. And this dude is ballistic skill 4. And you can give him +1 to wound vehicles with the Rekka strat for death skulls. Again, it's super funny to just roll buckets of dice at somebody's character, and it can actually be devastating depending on your opponent. I've played some games against Eldar, and this combo has done a lot of work before, just because, again, if I get within 12 of your character, I can just roll a shitload of dice and try to kill him. I would do it for the memes, like the Dead Shiny Shooter, the Teleport Blasta, and the Opportunist. And again, if you replace the Dead Shiny Shooter with the KMB and take extra custom, it is really good. And Blood Axes, they get fall back and shoot, which is okay. It keeps your ballistic skill 4 a bit more relevant, being able to fall back and shoot. And they have a relic sniper rifle, the straight shooter, which is effectively if the Dead Shiny Shooter did 1 damage but had sniper rifle rules. So again, I think that's a good combo, slapping the straight shooter on him because he is ballistic skill 4. And he is ballistic skill 4. It's 24-inch range, meaning you're getting 14 shots within 12, 10. But even if you're doing 10 shots, you're hitting on 4s. That's 5 hits. It's strength 5. So if you're shooting at Marines, you're going to average like 3 wounds. And they're neg 1. So you could potentially kill a Marine. You could maybe chip some damage off. If you spike your rolls, could be good. It has utility. It has uses. Freebooters. Killer reputation, bonus leadership. I'd say it's worth it if you put the KFF on him. All his ores are 6 inches, and having a leadership buff in this army is helpful. This isn't my favorite, but he can also hit on 3s in freebooters. So again, it's worth to keep that in mind. There are ways to get this lad hitting on 3s in this army, so there are some good combos. He's just a shooting platform at that point. I can't think of anything else in other clans that make him stand out. Bad Moons is okay. Yellow Mega Armor is just the bee's knees to look at. It is by far my favorite color for Mega Armor. I hate painting yellow though, so I don't know that I'll ever have yellow ones. The relic for them is an 18-inch flamer, and I'm not wasting ballistic skill 4 to give him an 18-inch flamer when I can just put that on something else like a war boss that could use it better than he could. And obviously Goffs, like, they're super melee centric, so there isn't anything to do with him that we've not already discussed. Like, you could put any melee combo stuff on him. Evil Sons is solid because, again, can advance and shoot with no penalty, but there isn't much to layer on him. He's just there. He's just doing what he does. So all the standouts we've already covered. Snake bites, again, they're the poopy duty, man. Is what it is. Is he worth it? I like him a lot, but I just like Mega Armor a lot. So again, if you talk to anybody that plays with me a lot, they will tell you I bring a lot of Mega Knobs. I did in 8th edition. I did back in 3rd and 4th edition, like a lot of Mega Armor. I just really like it. It's super cool. It's one of my favorite kind of interactions with this codex. They are standouts right now to me because of the points drops they received. When they were originally 40 points, I was struggling to use them. Like I would only bring one unit because it was just too much. Now they're 40 points with the upgrades, and that feels better, especially when I look across at the analog units from different armies, and I say, okay, well, I still feel like they're overpointed when compared to them. Like Deathwing Terminators are 40 points, right? And I still feel like Meganobs when compared to Deathwing are overpointed, but at the same time, it's not like when they were 45 and 50 points compared to the 40 points for those Terminators. The KFF are 85 points, pretty cheap for the chassis, and the upgrades don't cost a lot. So for like 95 points, you got a pretty solid shooting platform in your army, especially in an army that doesn't have access to a ton of good shooting. The KFF is in a weird spot right now. 30 points is just too many points for a 6-inch aura of 6-up invulnerable save that can't be manipulated. I can't do anything to increase the range of that aura. There's one strat that does it, but when you use that strat, it just burns out the KFF for the rest of the game, you know? And so it's just really hard to justify bringing it for 30 points, especially when I can just take a regular war boss and have 2 turns worth of invulnerable save and go from there. You know, um, if the data slate, which I don't know if orcs are getting any love in the data slate, from the rumors and leaks that I've seen, not much is changing. If the KFF goes down in points, right? Like if it's 10 points, like the Teleporta, like if it's just a 10-point upgrade and you get to give them either the Teleporta Blaster or the KFF, I'll probably run it a bit more because 95 points for a 6-inch aura of 6-up invulnerable save is a lot more palatable rather than 115. Uh, so again, if the points go down on these, I'll probably be putting them in more lists and relying less on my Waagh save, and that should help. But if the points don't go down, I'm not changing my approach to this at all. He's just not worth it. Um, Again, the strat can be useful if you're playing against a shooty army. Having a first turn invulnerable save, then a second and third turn invulnerable save can be very helpful. But again, it's a 30 point and command point investment to burn it out. So with certain relics, gun loadouts, he is a pretty solid infantry based shooting option. Uh, and he's still okay in melee. Like he only gets like a handful of attacks. It's like 3 or 4. So he's not like a beat stick the way a war boss is, or even the way Mega Knobs are. But he is T5 with 5 wounds and a 2-up save, so he's chonky. He can be kind of hard to shift unless somebody hits him with something that's made for killing him. Healing vehicles is handy in certain lists. Again, not something I've really leaned on or relied on. Typically, it's just throwing dice downrange. 85 points, like I said, really cheap for filling out of a battalion. There are cheaper options, but they are not going to be ballistic skill 4, and they aren't going to have much utility. You can take a pain boss so you can get your 6-up feel no pain, but that's only going to get you so far, and the pain boss is going to die pretty quickly. You can fill out your battalion with a weird boy, but again, they're okay. They open up some secondaries, but I don't know that they're worth the 70 points that they're charging me for one. So for filling out a battalion, I feel like this is a more rounded option that gives you shooting, solid melee, and a little utility if you want it. Almost no synergy without relics or strats. Like I said, it's only there to heal vehicles. There's no like Tech Marine interaction where he's +1 to hit for a vehicle unit or anything like that. He's weapon skill 3, which means he does hit on 4s with his claw or saw, and you can't double saw him, so you can't just make him into a melee character. And as I've just said, KFF is overpointed for what it does, and it just feels like too much of an investment, especially if you're doing it for a 2 command point strat to burn out to protect your models and units. Filling out the detachment, keep them around your vehicles to heal, and inspiring leader, as much of a meme warlord trait as that can be useful within orcs. Especially if you're playing a more elite army with some mega knobs and stuff like that. Having your mega knobs interact at leadership 8 instead of leadership 7 is a big difference. It truly is. And even having Coptas or Cans, it does help them as well, because Coptas and Cans are leadership 6. So if you lose one, that's a failable leadership. So anything that you like, if you can just slap a leadership aura on him, it does help your army. Gonna shout out our immortals, Captain Too Tall, the real Donnie G, and Lord Wellingstone. You guys are awesome. I appreciate you. Again, everything that you guys have supported me with has just gone right back into the community, and I appreciate it. Thank you. And links in the description. Yeah, links in the description. We've got a Twitch channel. I do stream some videos on there. I also stream games. Twitter, you can find me at two nerds Chris. Patreon is up there. Facebook is up there. The Phoenix Gaming Space is under construction right now, but it will be back up and running soon. And then my Teespring shirt, or my Teespring shop is also there. So thanks a lot, guys.